Adam Daniel Mezei. Welcome back to the video blog. Thanks again for watching and for being here as usual. This is Toronto calling. It's the summertime. I hope you're having a good time. Sorry for yesterday's video blog. It was a little bit off kilter. There's too much space between the top of my head to the top of the screen, so my mouth kind of darted in and out of the frame. I hope I fixed that by today. You know, I was catching up on some older articles from the New Yorker magazine on Monday to start the week, and I read Malcolm Gladwell's old piece called "The Revolution Will Not Be Tweeted." Now, I'd been alerted to the presence of that article. Now, I remember hearing about it back in October of 2010, however, never had a chance to go around and read it among the, I'll call it, thousands of other pieces of information that I can read, or pages. Anyway, so I went back and I did a Google search, of course, for that caption, and I found it and I read it. Now, I heard about it, like I said, after listening to a twist image, or as they say in the French ethnic language, twist image, the podcast given by Mitch Joel out of Montreal, Mount Royal, the Holy Mountain, the Royal Mountain. And he gave this interview with a guy by the name of Jeff Livingston, Geoff. And basically, they were talking about how Malcolm Gladwell, first of all, presents his information in such a matter-of-factly sort of a way, so as to make it seem like all possible disagreement, debate, or contention is basically false. Malcolm Gladwell has a way of introducing his ideas that are kind of, like I said, matter-of-factly terse, that brook no dispute, and also that he doesn't seem to suffer fools gladly. That bit I'd heard about from somebody like Vinnie Ferrari, who had mentioned that to me. And now I started to read this article, and it kind of dawned on me that that was the case. Okay, piece one. Piece two. So the other thing there that there is disturbing to the two podcast guests, or the host and the guest, Mitch and Jeff, the fact that what they claim as weak ties, Gladwell claims that Facebook friends and Twitter followers are weak ties. Weak ties, not strong ties like other networks, and he juxtaposes the kind of stuff that goes on in social media versus the civil rights movement of the 60s, and some of the more memorable, contentious battles, pitched battles on the streets of, cities in Tennessee or Arkansas or Mississippi or what have you. And he's comparing that particular era, the 60s, to today, and how today is weak ties, and that in the old days was more of a military hierarchy, which was conducive to getting the civil rights movement escape velocity. Are you following all of this? And basically, I don't know if I agree or disagree, but one thing I can certainly say, again, I'm not even going to try to argue against Malcolm Gladwell, because I know that I don't have the chops. I'm going to sneeze. I don't have the chops to go up against Malcolm Gladwell. I'm sorry to say, I don't have that kind of skill. But definitely what I can say is that what I get out of Facebook, and as you know, I do spend a lot of time there, some of it is kind of, slap-happy, glad-handling nonsense time, and some of it is really good time. And it depends on what time of the day that you catch me. For example, if you catch me during work times, which here is during the middle of the day here in North America, then most of my posts are serious, and I craft things in a kind of rather professional sort of a way. If you catch me in the evening, late at night, I'm usually writing stuff that just comes to mind, kind of. That's when my status updates come out fast and furious. But during the day, it's links, articles, stuff that I write, stuff that I contribute to, stuff that I find, whatever, and I think stuff that will help you throughout the course of your workday. And I find, what I wanted to say was, what I find is that people come back to me with really great feedback. I have to point particular attention out to people like Gerald Schmidt in China, or people like Matthew Herring, or Art Lindsay III, Tiffany Bond, Ian Kath, Dragan Kurstic, Fred Grott, Ian Furness, who else comes by a lot? Jeremy Beale. And these are people from all over the world. I've already covered the UK, the US, China, Eastern Europe, and the Southern Hemisphere, Australia, New Zealand. So there's a really good spread. And, people like Bill Kamek in New York, and guys, girls, you name it. Oh, of course, Harmony T in Philadelphia, or Jerry T. I mean, there's so many people. And one more person I just want to mention, Susan Williamson, thank you so much for the book suggestions. And also, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm not remembering. there are a couple of other people that are very important to mention and to thank them for their contributions. They're extremely, extremely kind. David Wolf, Dan Harris, anyway, David Feng, Feng in Beijing. I get so much out of this, and that's why I stay there. And some people might say that it's a waste of time. I think it's all a waste of time if you think about it. I mean, everything that you do, even the so-called work that you do that's not a waste of time, that's also a waste of time. And I get a lot out of my weak ties. And for me, they're not weak ties. And this isn't to debunk or refute Malcolm Gladwell's argument and say that because my experience is not what he describes, therefore his argument is not correct. No, I'm not even going to have the temerity to say that. Just to say that, yeah, maybe for Malcolm Gladwell, because Malcolm Gladwell writes for the New Yorker and he's he's a New York Times best-selling author with 3 or 4 books under his belt, you know, with all these grandiose theories like The Tipping Point and Blink and Outliers and stuff like that, that he doesn't need to use Facebook as a way to, you know, get a lot of his sources. Malcolm Gladwell could probably call on the phone from his New York Times office, you know, or wherever he writes his columns from, and can just ask for information. Whereas, you know, us plebes use things like Facebook to get ahead. That's my theory on Facebook. I don't know, you could come back in the comments and sort of say how you think it's a bunch of nonsense, or how you think that Facebook is great, or how whatever. I mean, obviously, if you'll comment on Facebook, that means that you're on Facebook like me. But I just, that came to mind, and again, I thank everybody on Facebook, because it really, on many days, it makes my day, and you guys pull me out of some pretty tight situations. And I've also gotten a lot of great links and tips about how to proceed and go about things, and I could even say that it's made me money. So thank you again, and thanks again, and thanks once more. Wishing you and yours the best of things.